Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our Q4 release preview webinar. While we wait for attendees to trickle in, feel free to throw in the chat where you're joining us from, and I'll get started on a few housekeeping notes. On your webinar console, you'll notice a Q&A box to your right. You can use that Q&A widget to send us questions throughout the presentation, and myself and the rest of the Litmos team will do our best to respond to as many of those questions in real time, but we'll also be saving some of your questions for a live Q&A portion, which will happen at the end of this session. If you happen to put a question in the chat box, you may notice it disappear. Our team has simply moved it to Q&A so our presenters can have better visibility to your question. I'd also like to briefly acknowledge our statement of safe harbor. What we'll be discussing today is intended solely for you and your organization only. While we may share future plans or product intentions, please note that these are subject to change at Litmos's discretion without prior notice. Lastly, this webinar will be recorded, and a link to the recording will be sent to the email address you used to register, and it will come to you shortly after the webinar concludes. Now I would like to introduce you to today's speakers. We have Tommy Richardson, Chief Product and Technology Officer, Jeff Liu, Senior Director of Product Management, Jeff Weiss, Product Manager, Sean McGinty, Senior Product Manager, Brenton Coburn, Principal Product Manager, Adele Fischer, Product Manager, Customer Education, and Kate Boss, Product Manager of Content Development. With that, I will pass it to you, Tommy.
Thank you. Appreciate everybody showing up today. We've got certainly a full agenda here. On just a matter of process, please use the function within the webinar for asking questions. At the end of the presentation, assuming we have time, we will go through those Q&A and pick some of the questions to answer. And also the PMs will do the best they can during the webinar to try to answer some of those live. So please make sure you use that function. So you can see very full agenda. I'm going to walk through the vision and the roadmap. If you've been to these webinars before, you've seen the vision before, so a brief update, but a bunch of changes, positive changes on the roadmap that we're going to go through. And then we're going to go through deep dives on reporting, custom roles and permissions, a redesign that we're doing for the global library, combining AI and search together, adding metadata fields on there, updates we're going to be doing on the manager function, continued CATS enhancements, and then talk about all the training, that we're producing for y'all in our Litmos University. So a lot of great stuff to talk about as we go forward. Let's jump into it. So for y'all that have been on a webinar before, this is you'll recognize it. And for y'all that haven't been on a webinar before, this is our product vision. We've had this for roughly 2 years. And the good thing is, like a vision should, it hasn't changed much. We've wordsmithed a few things, but the direction that we're taking the product has been, very steady. And the way to kind of interpret this is when you look at the center of the circle, those are the goals that we're focused on. So having an engaging learner experience, having great external training within our product, making sure that the administrative, functions are very efficient for admins. Like those are just examples of the goal. And when you look outside the ring, these are things that either we've done or will be doing. So for example, learner experience, we produced a new learner home, redid all the learner screens, down to like the ILT registration screen. In the past year, we released an admin, search update. We're continuing to add e-commerce capability to our external training. Those are examples, of things that we've delivered in the past, year or two that sort of show what we're doing. And so when we go to the next slide, which is where we get into the roadmap, the plan. So if that's the vision, and that's what we're going to be doing quarter after quarter, year after year, these are things that, aren't going to go away in the foreseeable future. What are we planning on doing over the next year? The way our roadmaps work is they're a rolling year. So every quarter we do a quarter, and every quarter we add a quarter, so that we always have a year forward-looking view, showing people of what we want to do. And like most things, the current quarter, we're in Q4 now. Hard to believe it. Halloween will be here, Thanksgiving will be here, Christmas will be here before we know it. New Year's, all these holidays will be coming around. But the quarter that we're in, which is Q4, very tight level of detail of what we're going to be doing. You'll see some of this in the deep dives that we're going to be doing. And when you look at kind of after the current quarter, these are things that we've estimated and directionally things that we want to do, but a little less specificity. And so as we go from Q4 and we get into Q1, you'll see the things on this roadmap that we're kind of showing, in sort of the Q1 timeframe. We'll get a lot more specificity as we continue to work on it. So the goals that you saw in the vision, you see them over on the left. So this ties to our vision, our learner experience, AI everywhere, external training. Those are all vision goals that we have. And so what we're going to be doing in Q4 with learner is a lot. Some of this you're going to see in the deep dive, so I won't spend too much time talking about it, but a new learner search functionality, not just UI. We refreshed the UI in UX a year ago. What we're going to be adding is fuzzy search, like we have on admin, where you can type in a term and maybe not get the term exactly right, or even misspell it in the keyword search and get it right. But then we're also going to be adding an AI capability, so for y'all that have seen or have our AI assistant, where you can say, hey, I'm looking for a leadership course, for middle managers, and sort of talk to it like a human. And then it goes and it uses all the content that's in the courses to find that course. We're going to be putting that into the learner search. And, unlike our AI assistant that sort of returns like the top 3, it's going to return all the matches. And so we think that's going to be very helpful because, again, that's searching what's in the SCORM file, not just the metadata when you're using AI search. The other thing that we're going to be doing is a browse experience, right? So if you, hopefully, everybody here is using YouTube or, Spotify or Apple Music. They've got great browse experiences where you can go browse on year or genre. Today I feel like listening to classical. I can just go click on classical and see the top classical music. And so we're going to be using the metadata that's there for our courses, topics, skills, languages, and producing a browse experience off of that metadata, which should be a fantastic way for learners to discover content. So you'll hear a lot more about that. On our AI everywhere, we are putting AI everywhere. We're one of the few companies out there that has implemented AI for every role. We have AI that benefits learners, the AI assistant, the AI playlist. We have AI in our content creation tools. So for the content creators, we've built AI functions for our admins, and you're going to see a lot more here in a minute that we're going to be doing for admins. And so it's certainly a big deal for us. And we think the things that we've done have been beneficial, and we think the things that we're going to be doing in the future are going to continue to be beneficial. And so we're continuing to invest in our AI platform, upgrading our LLMs, enhancing the functions that we have to get better quality and better, speed and productivity. And that's really what you're seeing on that. There's, platform investments that we're continuing to work on. And every day you should notice it continuing to improve, continuing to get smarter, because there's a whole team focused on that. And every 2 weeks are doing updates to it, sometimes more. As I mentioned, we support external training today, particularly when you do it free, when you're using our Litmos University. That is the great example of using external training to train, your customers, us training you guys, as an example. And the big thing that we're focused on is adding in e-commerce capability, where we don't charge for it, it's free. But if you wanted to charge, for training, maybe training your partners, training your suppliers, maybe even training your users, you have a certification that they want to go through, and that's something you want to charge for. That's when I say e-commerce, what we're what we're focused on. And so we've recently rolled out, as I mentioned, we're in Q3, so we've already delivered some stuff. We've recently started to roll out the in-app purchase. We're in like learner search. You can see things that you can purchase as an external user and purchase those right there. But then we're going to be also adding in, invoicing and improving the first-time registration for external training as well. So go to the next slide. Efficient admins, you can tell it takes up almost a whole slide. It is a big deal for us this year. Not that the learner thing isn't going to be fantastic, but there's a lot of things that we're doing for admins. We're continuing to make our way through the quick reports and improving those. We've rolled out, the first of that, which is the new courses report. And so for y'all that have, are in the process of getting that rolled out to your instances, you've probably noticed that show up and you've gotten a notification that says, here's the new course report. It's a great example of how these other reports are going to look. So we're adding a lot more fields on the reports. There's more filtering capabilities, just a lot more function, a lot easier to use, and a lot faster. They run much, much, much faster than our prior version of the reports. And so the plan is to continue to work on those. You can see what we're delivering in reports in Q4, but it's, certainly, as you can see, kind of getting throughout the year, something we're going to, continue to work on. We did roll out roles and permissions and allowing you to create custom roles and permissions this summer. We've got some minor enhancements that we're doing with that if you want to update that in bulk. So we've got bulk capability and then providing a hierarchy, some minor things that we're going to be doing this year. The big thing here is really the global library redesign. I don't want to rain on the parade, so you'll see some of this later, but like really making that a lot more efficient and a lot more intuitive, and leveraging some things that are already out there. If you think about PowerPoint, like it has this ribbon up the top and kind of like everything you need to do, you kind of do in that ribbon. And so it's kind of like our mega nav, the theory is like one click and go. And so providing a capability like that, like today, if you want to create a module, you got to click on create a module, you got to pick a module, like you got all these steps to go through. Like it wasn't just one click. I want to create an assessment module. I want to create a CAP module, and making it much quicker. And so you'll see that when we kind of do the deep dive of what that's going to look like. And then also like filtering is kind of all over the place. And then when you search, you don't see all the fields that you want to see. And so we're going to be changing that search interface to be more like a grid. Think of it like a spreadsheet where you kind of see all the metadata, all the key fields, for the search, and you'll be able to sort and filter and all of that right from there, just like you can with a spreadsheet. And so we think, for customers that certainly have a large library, think of large 100 or more courses, like it's going to be much more efficient for you to maintain and navigate that library. So definitely a big deal that's coming. The other thing that we're focused on is continued operability. There's a standard out there, some of y'all may know, called LTI. We rolled out LTI 1.1 earlier. This year we're going to be rolling out 1.3, which has more functions, and then we're going to have some reference integrations, that you'll be able to use. They're partners of ours, and so we can certainly get you set up with them as well. So Bongo, which is a video assessment tool. We have a video assessment that's included in our product. Bongo is like the best. And so if you need something better than what we have, like they'll be a great, partner and pre-integrated. You don't have to do anything. GoFluent for speaking languages. They're also, amazing at that. So if you need to do language training, it'll be pre-integrated to do that. And then if you want to do ebooks, Vital Source. And so those would be reference architectures. And then we're also going to produce an SDK. So if you want to do, an integration with another provider, other than what we've done, you'll have that capability. I will tell you, come talk to us, talk to your CSM if you want to do one, because we're going out directly to these other learning companies and doing pre-built integrations, which makes it a lot easier on kind of everybody. You guys, as far as not having to do the integration and, us supporting it and We can typically get really good rates, just due to the sheer size of the number of users and, that we have. So if you're wanting to do this LTI integration, please talk to your CSM so that we, see what you're doing and maybe we work with you to do a partner on it. So managers we've worked on in the past couple of years. We're going to go back to it. There's a bunch of things that we want to do, not doing everything, but I think some of the key things that we want to do is putting a better grid on the manager, screen so that you can see, the employee data much easier. But you can see as we get into later in the year, we're going to allow you to kind of drill down in if you're a manager that has multiple managers. And today, if you have our AI, a manager can assign courses and learning paths via our AI. But if you don't have AI, like managers can't do that really easily. And so we're going to provide kind of like a native function also for admins to assign content. And, that's important. You're doing a performance review and, hey, Jeff, I think you should take this course. I can do it right there. And so again, just making things that you can do in the product today much, much easier to get done. Next slide. So content for everyone. We're doing a lot of enhancements in Q4 to our content creation tool that you'll see about later, providing translation capability with XLIF, kind of like with Office or Google, multiple people can work on a doc at the same time. We're going to be supporting that. We're also going to be having versions within CAT. So all things that, should make using the CAT tool, particularly when there's multiple people involved that are doing courses, a lot more efficient to do as we go through it. The other thing that we're going to be working on is adding metadata fields. There's some metadata fields that we've wanted to add. We've got a lot of ideas from y'all to add that we're going to be adding, things such as duration, learning paths. There's a long list. If you guys have some ideas, we've got like 12 of them we plan on adding. Certainly added in the questions or the Q&A here. And so that's going to be a big deal as well. We're not doing anything for embedded training or training in the flow of work in Q4, but you can see as we get out to the outer years, we plan on integrating our product into Teams and Slack, which is sort of a tool most people use. And the integration will work a lot like our Salesforce integration for people that have that, where there'll be an app that you'll be able to have in Teams and Slack, and then you'll get notifications in Teams and Slack. When you're assigned a course, when you're late on a course, and you'll actually be able to click on it and take it right there. Like you won't have to go, oh crap, let me go log into the LMS. You'll be able to kind of get that training done, right there in the flow of work. Then, kind of like the LTI thing, when we're doing this, we're going to produce, documentation, what I call it, an SDK of how we're doing that. Because we've got APIs and everything to do that, where if there's other applications that y'all would like to kind of do that deep integration in, kind of embed the training within an app, you'll have everything you need to know on how to do that. And certainly our PS team, will, if you need some help doing it, we'll be around to help y'all do those integrations as well. Okay, next slide. So we're continuing, it's not just feature function, we are a software shop. So defects are a thing with software. I had been having issues all week with Teams myself, where we've been logging defects on Microsoft. So yes, we have defects, but I will just say it is a big focus for us. And so you can sort of see our plan here. Where we are rapidly getting, catching up and fixing them a lot faster than we have in the past year. And so that's a big focus for us. And so for y'all that have open defects, you should notice that and see those getting closed pretty rapidly. And so you can see here just, for example, we're going to have 200 or so that are going to be closed between now and Q1 that the team is focused on. And then we're always looking at how can we make things perform better, perform faster. I don't know if y'all have noticed, like in the past 2 months, we've done a lot on just kind of like login work and session work, where we kind of store things when you log in, and that has rapidly increased performance of the application, where we've seen like 20-30% faster page loads times. And so this is sort of a geeky view, but I wanted to make sure y'all know we're always focused on that. Feature function is important, but also ensuring that every existing thing is running well and performing well and working well is important. Okay. So I think with that, we're going to start the deep dives. All right. I think we're getting the deep dive set up. Y'all just sit tight while we get those going.
Thank you, Tommy. I'm very excited to share what we have going on in reporting for Q4. First up, we have the all-new People Quick Report. We've modernized the People Quick Report in our effort to redo all the quick reports. And as you can see, now you can go into each column and modify it accordingly. So if I wanted to see only people with customer support roles, I would go into role and I would say contains customer support. And then that would filter out, so only people with customer support roles would be displayed. This customization can also be saved, and it'll be saved right up here. You can save your quick report to with any name you want, and it will appear up here in your report selection. Once you do, you can use the drop-down to see all your reports, including ones that you've shared or are shared with you. You can share reports with anybody else who has reporting permissions and can access this page. We've also added a scheduling feature. So now you can schedule reports to be emailed to you either in a CSV or PDF format. You can choose the days, the times, the recurrence. You can also hit pause if you are done with reporting. Now I'd like to pass you to my colleague, Jeff, to talk about custom roles and permissions.
All right. Thank you, Zach. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. My name is Jeff Liu. I am a product manager here at Litmos. Today, I'd just like to spend a few minutes to kind of walk you through what we have planned for Q4, this current quarter, starting with enhancements around custom roles and permissions. As you all know, custom roles and permissions have been out in the wild in many of your hands over the last 2 to 3 months already. We've got some decent feedback coming back around where we have areas for where we could potentially improve. And so let me just walk you through a couple of those for this quarter. So first and foremost, we're working on bulk updates to custom roles. So we're adding the ability to bulk update users on the legacy, on any roles that they had in the past to the new custom roles. And this is particularly important for customers who are having to do this not for 1, 2, or 3 users, but potentially 10, hundreds, or even thousands. So we know we have customers that need that capability and avoid having to do this manually because that would be painful, or having to leverage the APIs. And so what we've done basically here is kind of taken a lot of the bulk action capability from within Litmos and applying it to this. Second area of improvement for custom roles and permissions is being able to allow you to having a tool that allows you to create an order around a hierarchy for the various team roles. This is particularly important as we move from having just 2 roles, 2 team roles that's very tightly defined, versus potentially up to 50 different team roles that you can create. And so the goal here is to be able to make sure you're able to order the various roles within this hierarchy, and therefore ensure that your users only promote others below their own role level within this hierarchy itself. And this is really providing you an extra level of sophistication around creating guardrails for your users. And then, of course, it would be remiss on me to kind of remind you all, it is GA, it is available. For those who are not aware, you do need to go into the customer portal to create a request for it and get into a queue for your respective tenants to be upgraded to custom roles and permissions. The help documentation has step-by-step instruction on how to do that. And also the Litmos University, there is a course right now around custom roles and permissions. And what you'll find in there are some best practices that you might find useful as well. All right, that's custom roles and permissions. So moving on. Global library redesign. So we know a lot of our admin users live in the global library. We know that there are a lot of improvements we could make to that. And so we're particularly excited about this particular work that we're doing for you. So global library, our goal here is to be able to improve the ergonomics here. And what do I mean by that? Ergonomics from the perspective of being able to get to your key actions very quickly and very easily. Two, being able to present the information in a way that's easily consumable. And then three, being more intuitive with how the overall page is presented to you. And the goal really there is ultimately to be able to help reduce the learning curve, in terms of getting up to speed on as an admin for the Litmos LMS platform. And so what are we doing specifically that it's going to help improve that? So first and foremost, we've created a ribbon at the top with all the key actions so that you can just click at one time, you get to the action you need to get to, as opposed to having to drill down to finally get to the action. So we know this is really important. Second thing we're working on is being able to present the search results back in a grid-like format, not dissimilar to the quick report that Zach was just talking about earlier. And so right from here, you're able to reorder your columns, you're able to filter and sort. And of course, right from here, you're also able to bulk select and select individual rows as well. Third area of improvement is around making it easier for you to navigate across or traverse across your search results, across the pages of your search results. And so what we've done is made this navigation bar at the bottom sticky so that you're able to go in there and see where you're at across all the different pages, but more importantly, being able to navigate across the pages as well. So we're also keeping the global filtering capability in there, but what we've done is made it a lot easier to be able to create the filters without having to scroll down, kind of work across the different tabs. And what's nice about this is you can see everything all at once. Another area of improvement is how we present back to you recently viewed, requires approval, and recent imports. We know our customers rely on that heavily, but the way you do it is you have to scroll down to go look for those things. What we've done is we've just basically presented the information in a more intuitive way, where on the top right-hand side, you just can click on any one of those buttons and you have flyouts. We believe this is a much more intuitive way or easy, way for you to be able to get to the information you need to get to. And finally, we're also, again, because you live in the global library a lot, we want to make all those tools available to you right from there, including the AI-based search capabilities also at your fingertips as well from within the global library page. So we're super excited about this. We think this is going to be a huge improvement for how you interact with Litmos. So again, very excited. Something for Q4. We'll be talking to you guys more about this at a later stage. All right, I'll be handing this over to Brendan. Thank you.
I'm really looking forward to that global library redesign. It'll be awesome. My name is Brenton Coburn, and I have the opportunity today to talk to you about the enhanced learner search that we're doing in Q4. So today, the learner search has an opportunity for us to make much better. We have the capability that we're going to be putting into the platform to be able to not only see what your top matches are as you're searching, Similar to how Google starts to try to figure out what you're searching, we're going to do something similar in the learner search category. We'll be able to show you your recent searches. And then what's really cool on the back end is that we're actually not just going to search for those keywords and the titles. We'll be able to search across the tags, the titles, the description, and lots of different metadata fields that we have to be able to pull back the correct courses that our learners are really interested in finding. This is something similar to what we've done in the admin search. So if you're familiar with the admin search that we have today, you'll notice that the experience is going to be very similar for our learners, just targeted towards the content that they have access to. The next information that we're going to be looking at giving you in Q4 is around adding additional metadata fields. Now, this is a big thing that we're going to be pushing starting in 2025 here at the end, and then moving into the year 2026. So for Q4, we're going to be looking primarily at making sure that we're adding the field of duration. What you'll notice is that in some content today, you'll see this in the course title, but we'll be pulling that and putting it directly into its own field. This will enhance our overall platform, allowing users to do things like search against that, filter to make sure that they're finding the right courses or durations that they have time for. We're going to be able to then take this metadata, put it into some of our reporting enhancements, as well as some of our AI enhancements. So really looking forward to building out this robust platform of metadata fields that'll help our entire platform create a much more seamless experience for all of its users. Like I said, we'll continue to add more data fields as we move through 2026. So in future calls, we'll be bringing those to you. Next, we have Sean, who's going to talk to you about the new manager view.
Thank you, Brenton. I will continue on and discuss the changes that we're making to manager view. As some of you may know, the manager role or the manager view is kind of a hidden role within the LMS. And it had very limited functionality, and it pretty much gave managers 2 reports to see what their direct reports were assigned and what was overdue. So now we've given managers a much larger selection of quick reports to give them more actionable data so that they can engage with their direct reports and really drive the completion of content that's been assigned to them, as well as maintaining compliance. Within each of these quick reports, we've also embedded an insight panel. Each one of these icons that highlights what the report is focused on is clickable so that they can drill into that data and get access to it as quick as possible. Moving on from there, we have enhancements to the content author tool, affectionately referred to as CAT. The first item that we've updated with CAT is the ability to copy or mirror and edit a module created in CAT. Up until now, once you've copied a module into a new course, it loses all of its edit properties. So now, if we copy or mirror a CAT module, the edit properties will retain themselves, and you can have multiple versions of the same course. All of this helped us achieve the next update that we're releasing, which is the XLEF translations. So now when you copy a CAT module or you create an individual one, you can export an XLEF file, which has all of the on-screen text that the learner engages with, and run that through a translation service. I've been using ChatGPT while testing it. It works great. We can round trip a file in less than 5 minutes. So our clients can now have as many different versions of a course in every language that we currently support. Collaborative authoring, the long and short of this update is that we've brought Office 365-like collaboration into the CAT authoring tool. So we can have multiple authors in the same module working collaboratively, or SMEs. And when they click on an element, it'll highlight that element in a color and list their initials or show their profile picture to show everybody else who's in the same file who's editing what. Each component can only be edited by one author at a time, but they can be on as many pages and editing as many elements as they want, as long as they're not trying to edit the same.
Thanks, everyone. Now over to Adele and Kate for content and university updates.
Hi, everybody. This is Adele and Kate here. We are going to be providing our content and university updates for Q4. I'm the product manager for the Litmos University, so customer education, and we're really excited to bring you some updates here that will be rolling out in this final quarter of 2025. So first up is Litmos University. And then we'll move on to Kate with her product content, our subscription content. And so what do we have here for Litmos University? Well, as far as new coursework goes, we're really excited to announce that we will be providing a best practices course around information security. This coursework focuses on not only the general best practices of what to do when setting up your information security training program, all the way from needs assessments, identifying your org's needs and requirements, risk levels, and then also all the way to what features to use in the Litmos University, right? So you've got your general best practices around creating an information security training program, all the way to now that you've got your training program lined out and you have a good idea of what you need. Then we start to talk about what to pair with and partner with in the LMS itself to make that program really come to life and implement successfully. So if you're someone looking for a new information security manager, or you're trying to put together a program, you're bringing in a new manager or training manager who's never done this before, maybe you're handing this off to someone who's a little newer to the scene, this course would be a really great course for them to check out in the university. And then next up, we have account owner functions, our micro learning suite. So we're very, very excited about this one. This will be a whole new way of approaching university content that myself, some amazing instructional designers are putting together. We're really trying hard to create a learning option that is really focused on helping you in the flow of work, true micro learning, right? So keep your eye out for that. The first one we're going to put out is around one of our most popular topics, which is account owner functions. Next up, we have Litmos implementation and onboarding guide. So this will be a course with an asset, or I should say like an attachment or reference resource provided within that course. And that's going to be our Litmos implementation and onboarding guide. This guide really takes you all the way from setting up your account to content settings, content creation, to reporting and team structure. It's really an all-in-one guide to get you lifted and ready to go on day one as you set up your new LMS account. So if you're someone new and onboarding into Litmos and getting Litmos up and running, or if you inherited a Litmos account, this would be a great course for you. So what are our enhancements coming down the pipeline for Q4 that we're looking at? There's going to be some major and exciting updates to our content author tool capabilities. So keep an eye out for that one. That'll be the first one up, actually. We're really excited about some of the enhancements we're going to be featuring and updating the course with. Next up would be feature e-commerce. Again, more enhancements there around purchasing from the library, which is really exciting. Reports tab and running reports. We will continue to create and enhance the reporting feature with our wonderful product team. So with that being said, we will also be updating the coursework. After that, we have account custom roles and permissions. As many of you know, we released our CRP, or also known as custom roles and permissions. And we are constantly, as promised, our product team is making fast follow enhancements to this feature, which means we will also have fast follow updates in the coursework. And then for our last bullet item for enhancements is our best practices of external training. So with that ability to purchase from the library, a learner to purchase from the library through e-commerce permissions, we will also be updating the best practices course, right? So the same update will happen in the feature e-commerce advanced course, and then same exact update in best practices external training. product team is working on that. That'll be a release in Q4, and our coursework will reflect that. And as always, we are continuing to process and upload and publish live webinar recordings from Litmos Labs and our month in review feature spotlights, which hosts all of our current and most up-to-date releases from the month before. So with that, thank you for your time, and we hope to see you in Litmos University real soon. And I will hand it over to Kate now, who's going to provide some Litmos content updates for you. Kate?
Thanks, Adele. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Kate Boss. I am the Content Product Manager for the Litmos Originals compliance product, the courses that you see updated each month. So we've got some really exciting courses coming out in the quarter ahead, focusing on inclusion, ethics, and workplace culture. So let's jump right into those. So in October, we added 4 new courses on digital ethics in society and inclusion, which is a series in our global library, as well as digital ethics in sustainability series. So these are really short 10-minute micro-learning courses. They're really punchy. They include a faux podcast series as well. They've been excellently designed by instructional design and digital design team, and they, of course, incorporate how the impact of AI on our workplaces as well. So a really good series if you've started to roll out AI in your workplace as well. For our UK customers, we've also released 3 new courses on the Terrorism Act, or Martin's Law as it's commonly referred to. This helps organisations to stay compliant and also prepare for the 2027 enforcement of the Terrorism Act. So 3 courses, 1 for general employees, 1 for the standard tier responsible person, and an enhanced tier responsible person as well. So they're around 40 to 45 minute long courses because they need to cover quite a lot of content for your organisation. And yeah, really excited to be able to deliver that series and really help organisations. We know a lot of customers have been waiting for this and the legislation has taken a few years to pass. So have a look at those if they're relevant to you. Next up in November, we're adding 2 new courses for our Australian customers, and they're focused on the Cybersecurity Act. These will both be available in our full Litmos catalogue as well as our compliance catalogues. So for our AU customers, these look at your obligations around reporting ransomware payments, as well as the voluntary requirement to report those sorts of payments as well. Finally, in December, we kick off something special for our US customers, the Common Ground series, which is on workplace civility. This series comprises of 5 courses for employees and 5 for managers or leaders, and they're all designed to foster more respectful and inclusive workplaces. And to round out that quarter, we've also got our Australian course on preventing sexual and gender-based harassment, which is stemming from the Respect at Work report. That's it for our new content. As always, we'll be also releasing any updated courses that have gone through their review this year. So look out for those in the release as well.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, I'm back. We're going to do some Q&A here. Definitely some great questions that I see here. Some I'll answer, and then some I'll get our PMs involved in some of this. So I see one that's out here which asks about the CAT tool AI generator will start to include interactions at this moment. It generates text and images, which is fine as a foundation. But when you plan on adding other tools as well? And so that is on the roadmap that I showed earlier. It's not something that we're doing in Q4 because all the great work that you saw that the teams can walk through are keeping us busy for Q4, but something we're going to get into next year. And so if you've used our AI CAT tool, you know, it's got a human in the process and it walks you through the steps of creating a course. And so helps you create learning objectives, helps you create an outline, and then generates, pages with text and images like that question said in the product today. And so what we plan on doing is on the outline, you'll be able to go in and kind of pick, I want this page to be a quiz. I want this page to be, a flip chart. I want this page to be, a video. all these different learning components that we have in our content authoring tool. By the way, we have more learning components than any of our competitors in their tools. You're going to be able to pick the ones, that we've got AI integrated with it and be able to do that. And then it will generate that for you, which we think will be a big help. Certainly you can do that today, not in the outline. Like once the text is generated, like you can go, to the text and highlight it and bring up the flip card function. And like, for example, that one is AI enabled. And then it will then generate the flip charts for you and find images for you and do all that for you. So I would encourage you, until we kind of get that enhancement in, like definitely check out all the AI components that we've got in the CAT tool and work on using those, to help you generate stuff other than just text and image, which is what we generate out of the box. Let's see. I saw another question here that I think I can answer, which is about the global admin. The global admin and the team admin, those screens are the same, as a team admin as far as maintaining, the content and all of that. And so the things that we showed for global admin and on that particular page will be things that will also work for teams. All right, I'm just going through here. Will the Google-like search only be available for accounts that have AI turned on? Yes, that's true. The reason why we're doing that, just so everybody knows, is, AI isn't free. It definitely costs things. We've, with our AI SKU for the LMS, have tried to minimize that cost to our customers. And so for the time being, until AI gets much cheaper, you will need to purchase the AI SKU to get all of that AI function that we are rolling out. And that's for anything that we're sort of saying in this webinar and anything in the future. And if we do see where it gets super economical, it is getting cheaper, but if you look at like ChatGPT, that's $20 a user, Grok is $30 a user. All these functions cost a good amount of money. And if they get down to like, I don't know, $1 or $2 a user in the future, then, we'll certainly adjust our approach on that. I'm just scrolling through here. And PMs, if there's a question that you want to answer live too, feel free to jump in. So I see another question about integration into Google Workspace. We've also heard the question about like SharePoint integration, because there's a lot of documents that live outside of the LMS. That is something that we do want to do. It's not on the roadmap. It sounds, I was talking to a customer about this actually yesterday. It sounds pretty easy, which is, hey, integrate into this and just suck the content in. I think when you start to kind of dig into it, it's actually needs to be a bit more complicated, because like the value of the LMS is like all the assets, all the courses that are in there go through hopefully a very rigorous process, because you're training your learners on it and you don't want to train them on anything that's incorrect. And so there's, typically workflows to get those approved and get, people at multiple eyes on it. And, particularly when you think about policy, whether that's, like the harassment policy or privacy policy, or maybe even AI, policy, you just got to make sure that's right. And so that's why that gets a bit complicated. And so it's a decent amount of work, where, in theory, we want to have kind of a workflow where you can integrate it like Google Workplace or SharePoint, and sort of pick the docs that you want and then have an approval process before they kind of get added to that global library or added to a team, that for sure this is something you want to share with learners and you want to get them trained on, but definitely something that we're interested in doing. I saw another question about defects. I was wondering if anybody, if that was a good thing to include in our update, other than the function. As far as how the priority works, we have priorities 1 through 5. Number 1 is critical, like something's down. We haven't had, any major issues like that, but obviously if that does happen, it's all hands on deck. And then as you kind of go from 1, to 5, the priorities change, so like a P2 is something that's critical where there's no workaround, the whole system isn't down, maybe a function isn't working. Those are kind of the next priority because we don't get P1s. That's pretty much what engineers pull, right away. Sometimes it takes a while, to fix those, just because they're working on it doesn't mean, they can fix it quickly. Some may take days to weeks to fix, but we typically pull those right away. And then we either hot fix it or it goes in the next release. Hopefully y'all have noticed, like in the release notes, we do releases every 2 weeks. So there's very frequent updates that those kind of jump into and get pushed out. And then as you go down to kind of like P3, it's an issue, a serious business impactful issue, but there's a workaround. And so that's why those sort of come after P2s, and then P4s are minor issues, easy workaround. And then P5 is more like, things are misspelled, things are misaligned on the screen, colors are incorrect, stuff like that doesn't really impact transactions. And so we kind of work in that order, is how we prioritize. So depending on what your defect is and, how that sort of fits into that determines how it's prioritized. But we go through that prioritization process with support too. So like the people you're talking to about the defect, we work with them, to figure out how to prioritize that. That's not just like an engineer behind the scenes that knows nothing about you or your case or your issues that's doing that. It's a combined effort between, the engineering team and the team you're talking to about the case. Okay. You guys feel free to keep adding course questions here. Another question, learner home. I'm glad somebody asked this. When we designed the learner home and what we call swim lanes, those rows that go across, we built it in a way so that over time we can add all kinds of different swim lanes in there. And, the analogy I like to use is Netflix. If you use Netflix or even YouTube, they all have these swim lanes. And you can sort of scroll through, and pick the one that you're looking for. And then, a lot of them are intelligent too, where over time it sort of learns what you're looking for and making sure that stuff is up near the top. And so we've, since rolling that out a year ago, we've already made enhancements to it. We've added in the AI playlist that learners can create in there as new swim lanes. We've also added in, when admins can create a playlist and sort of push it to learners, that capability to put there as well. And then we've added some capability because, with all those different swim lanes, you start to get a lot of scrolling, and, you get scrolling with YouTube and Netflix. A lot of people say a scrolling interface is better than a clicking interface. By the way, there's a lot of science behind that. And so we've added the ability where you can sort of, minimize things that aren't, important to you. And so the next stage that we plan on kind of getting into, through a year is giving people more control over like placement. Like what order do you want it in? We've kind of put an order in where we think, hey, stuff that you're late on, stuff that you're not compliant on, stuff that you have to do next is sort of the important order, but for some use cases, some businesses, like that order may not make sense, and you may want to put something else, in a different order. And so that's kind of like the next thing that we want to do with it other than just continuing to add swim lanes to it. Like, for example, when we do the skills work later in the year, we're going to allow learners to pick a skill, managers to pick a skill for a learner. And then when you sort of pick that skill, it's going to show up on the learner home, and you'll see the skill that you've, quote unquote, enrolled in. And here's all the courses you need to take to earn that skill. We're going to keep adding swim lanes, but we're going to sort of give people the ability to pick the order they wanted to pick it in. And then I think after that, then we'll kind of get to if you want to add swim lanes. And the reason why is it's so important. We put a lot of effort behind that learner home to make sure that when you log in, it's super fast, from a learner perspective. And like the more swim lanes, the more configurations, the more things you put there, and the more sort of flexibility, you've just got more logic going on behind the scenes that sort of slows things down. But it is something that we eventually want to get to give you more control over what things you can put on there and what order you can put them on. Okay, so I think 2 minutes left. So maybe another question here. Okay. I see this question, and just to clarify a little bit about search, someone, and I like the way you put it, Anna. Do you still have this ridiculous limitation for tags that cannot include spaces inside of? So the advantage of our new search, like issues with getting the exact, term right, or having spaces or not having spaces. I forgot to put a tag in. Like all of these problems are things that are going to get tackled with the new learner search, right? The reason why you have tags today is because like you don't have a metadata spot to put that in there, and like that's something that users can type on. The AI search that we were talking about before, where it searches all content in the course, right? You don't need to do tags anymore if you're using the AI search, right? Because like back to my example, I'm looking for leadership training for a middle manager. Like your course is going to be full of that context. It's teaching leadership for that middle manager. There's going to be words on it. There's going to be relative context meaning around that scattered throughout your course. And like our AI is going to understand that. So before you'd have to put a tag in, middle manager, leadership training, and all these different tags to make sure that search would pick it up. So I think it's going to be, very interesting paradigm shift as we roll this out, particularly for our customers, because it's going to change completely how search works. You type in a misword, you don't have to remember, a keyword anymore. You can get the word close, you can talk to it. It's really, in our opinion, going to make it much easier for learners, because you think about learners, they don't know the library, they're not in there that often. It's got to be super, super simple and super easy to use, and then also familiar. Most people are using Google, and they kind of know how Google works and have the expectations of Google. And so that's what we're aiming at. And so I will also say that like that's going to be a feature that we're definitely going to be betaing. And so for any of y'all that want to be in, we haven't started the beta yet. We haven't asked customers yet. But if you're interested in potentially betaing the admin search or the learner search functions as we roll that out, definitely talk to your CSMs. Or other people, with Litmos on the customer success side, and let them know that. And you can be certainly one of our early people, and that will give you a chance to actually see it and sort of play with it and understand the paradigm shift and just how much better it's going to be as far as the user experience, and not having to do as many tags, and like all that stuff is going to change. So with that, I know we're a couple of minutes over. Appreciate everybody staying late. Appreciate everyone joining. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out. Use the customer success channel, and look forward to seeing y'all in another quarter. Thank you.